Hey, hey, good to see you all. Yeah, doing well, thanks yourself.
Pretty good, pretty good. How's your week? How's the new offer going?
It's it's been non-stop. I mean, it's been a very heavy load. There's a lot of moving parts, and we're having to make a big shift in the offer just due to the competition we've got.
Hmm.
We're making some big plays right now, taking a lot of time and energy, but it's all going to pay off.
Yeah,
So,
I'm curious, like in the offer itself, what are the biggest bottlenecks at the moment? Like, what are you noticing?
biggest bottlenecks is getting people in the right mindset, really, more than anything.
Hmm.
Because we have a proven system. We have all of the support mechanisms there, but it's finding more of the it was quite interesting, more of the internal desires from the individuals now is where we're focusing a lot of efforts because uh, it's a performance game
Hmm.
with trading.
Yeah,
So very crucial to have everything managed correctly up there and
yeah,
with the right perspectives. And yeah, finding some obstacles there that we've been fixing. So I can kind of share them today as well. That will probably help us. But yeah, big thing is helping the students more on a personal level, um, and sort of tailor making some new approaches for them.
hmm. Like, do you mean like with delivery, you're finding that because trading, and I've done it before, so I know it's really intense on your mindset. You have to be very, very careful when you place a trade, when you leave. You don't ego trade, things like that. So, is that what you mean? Like, you people keeping their mindset. Is that what you're saying?
Uh, Giving them more perspective in reality overall, because the problem is they'll then overtrade, get too emotional about it, make rash decisions, and therefore they're not really seeing what's in front of them anymore. They're seeing a mashup of loads of things that don't make a lot of coherent sense to them. Even though it is coherent, they themselves have got them stuck into a bit of a tiz where they're not seeing the true grounded reality that they're actually in. So spending a lot more time there and trying to help people lower their emotional state a bit more, which
Hmm.
is quite unique. We never really had to sort of work on that a lot, but I think it's in the wider world as well. I'm seeing.
Yeah, I think us as a community, we have a lot of problems with emotions as well, like high emotions,
Yeah,
um, including myself. Like anything happens, like from 0 to 100, all of a sudden, it's not working. How's it gonna happen? Right. So this is like very important in any business to kind of keep that perspective, a zoomed out view. Okay, what are the numbers? What are we trying to do? Um, so it's very similar to trading, but I bet trading is slightly more difficult. Like these businesses, trading, this whole business, it's all about mindset more than capital compared to brick and mortar businesses, like typical brick and mortar businesses where, physical locations, guys, like if you don't know what brick and mortar is, 40, 50,000, 60,000, even 100,000, you have to put into physical locations. Hopefully in the next 3, 4 years, make some sort of profit. But this sole business, sure, you have to put some sort of money, but it's not as intense with cash, but it's more intense with mindset and how you manage your emotions.
it really is, and I think we'll touch on that today. I put together a very minimal slide. I think maybe next week, if I get some time, I can build out a real good slide. But I want to share some examples today with everyone. Really tapping in more to the mindset and giving some stories from my own past and things that have helped me overcome obstacles, mindset shifts, perspective shifts I've had to inevitably change to help me succeed in the paths that I've gone down. Um, if you're good, I can share now if that's okay. I can
Yeah.
bring it up.
Do you know
Yeah,
how it's the box with an arrow pointing upwards?
get in there. Let's have a look. Chrome tab, entire screen. Okay. You guys see this?
Yeah, I can see this.
It's interesting. I used to take photos years ago when I first got started in my entrepreneurial ventures. We should put it this way, and I kind of want to tap into that a bit and share some of my story with you. Never thought I'd actually do this, but I've always taken these photos, so I thought there'd be at some point a use for them. Uh, I got started heavily into my entrepreneurial journey 2015, 16. So I was 18, 19 years old. Um, to give you some background story, I come from a tiny rural farming village where everyone that's ever been born stays there, dies there, lives there forever. Really old school type of setup. So there's no such thing as these entrepreneurs, salespeople, performance experts, or anything like what we do. It very much was very grounded in the physical world. And when I'd come out with my ideas and my aspirations and my beliefs, people would shoot me down, call me deluded, or think I'm on something, or quite frankly, they didn't see what I could see. So one thing I learned very early on that I'd share with you all: you've got this vision, you see what's possible. Sometimes you might get discouraged, first of all, just because you've gone and shared it with someone else that hasn't gone through the journey you've gone through yet to see what you see. And that's not a problem. And the big thing is realizing on this journey that you're going to have so many obstacles up and down, that it's just what happens. It goes in waves, but each wave that you're there to learn something, and it's there to teach you how you can move forward and get past that initial obstacle. Again, it doesn't always feel that straightforward. So I'm going to dive in and just show you what it was like for me. It was me, random selfie, but when I was like 18 or whatever, in my car, that I had to get a loan from the bank for, because I didn't have any money. Like, I don't come from any financial wealth whatsoever. Come from a council house with my mum. So I remember I got offered this closing job, commission only, self-employed, and to me that was what I wanted to do. I'd set out that I want to become an expert communicator and be able to influence, persuade, and help people and close deals, because I wanted to gain a lot of skill. So I took this role, jumped into the unknown, and all I was given effectively was a week's training and this document here, which was the 12 steps to a sale. And then I would literally be driving around in my shirt and my suit 6 days a week, by myself with this process, going to people's homes to talk about solar. Now, it's the same thing that you'll face it anytime you're selling anything. Like, I didn't have a clue. Like, there was so many things that I was worrying about at the time. How are people going to afford it? Do people really have this much money? Are they going to think I know what I'm talking about? Are they going to catch me out that I don't know anything? Will they trust me? I don't feel confident in talking about it. And there were so many things that I kept facing, even at this beginning obstacle. And it was just challenge after challenge after challenge. I had no money. I had no backup plan, but I had this goal and belief that I could make it work. And what got me to do this and got me to keep a very level-headed mindset was that I saw other people that were already doing it and succeeding. Now, equally in my head, I'm in my own lane. So I'm like, I don't care about them, but there's a reference point there. They're doing it. And good or bad, a bit of an ego, I compare myself to them and I'm like, I could do better than that. Like, I don't judge no one, but there's that inner competitive nature. You're like, I think I could do a bit better than that. So sometimes just tapping into those mindsets is what helped me keep a level head. But when I got started, I really did dive into this with no knowledge. I mean, I was, just edging on 19, no money. I didn't go to college. I quit like after 2 months. I couldn't stand it. And I just knew I couldn't work a job for someone. Just knew that. And, I told my friends, my family, some of them were a bit against what I was doing. Some of them said it's too risky. Maybe things you guys have heard as well. At the end of the day, people see from their perspective and give you what they believe to be a fair assessment of the situation, just how they would deal with it. But remember that they don't know what you know. And I took that mindset in. I'm like, I've got to do this. I've got to become someone that can do this. I don't know how yet, but I have to embrace it. And all I did every day is I just focused on these 12 steps, that the process I had. I kept myself in a good mental frame of mind as best as I could, listening to music, journaling, listening to audiobooks, socializing, and just getting more out of my world. Because the problem was, I found like sometimes I would start maybe losing a bit of hope, going down a bit of a negative belief system, because I'm there in my car all day long. It's just me. I'm looking at this. I'm going to all these different houses. I'm looking at solar inverters, solar panels, air source heating systems. Quite frankly, don't have a clue how they worked. I'm up trying to measure things, figure technical things out while trying to pitch and present something, convince someone of passing some money over. There were so many things that kept eating away, sometimes causing some self-doubt. And what I had to do was just take a step back and really look at the bigger picture, because I looked at other people ahead of me and they're doing it. They're succeeding per se, they're making it happen. And I said to myself, well, it's just a matter of time at this point. Like, I just said to myself, it is just a matter of time. if everyone else can do it, then I can most definitely do it. Because again, maybe that inner competitive nature, I would compare myself a bit, to these fully grown adults at the time doing what they were doing. And I'm like, I can do this. And sometimes it's not a bad thing to compare. Sometimes it's not a bad thing to look at another person and have, have some sort of competitive nature going on, even if it's for your own internal drive. It doesn't have to be something that you materialize outward, but if it just gets you up and gets you in a state, use it at that time. That motivation will eventually change for something else as you develop down your path. But when you're getting started, you want to find every way possible just to keep yourself back into that mindset that got you doing it in the first place. Because again, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into at this point. I didn't. I just knew it was commission only. Some of the people were making thousands of pounds a week, and I just wanted to learn how to sell at this point. And that's all I did. I bet on myself massively. I took a loan out from HSBC, which was the most nerve-wracking thing I've ever done. But I'm like, if I don't get the capital at this point to invest into myself, my education, basically this job in my mind was, this is my education. This is my path to the beginnings of success. I have to go out and do the thing that's going to teach me how to communicate, how to connect, how to sell. So I was like, if I get that loan out, it can pay for my fuel. It can give me peace of mind at the time that if I just stick to this process, show up every day and keep going through it, it's just a matter of time. And it would take me down the most random places. I mean, I would go down to all sorts of random places, random back roads, main roads, mansions to tiny bungalows, and meet every single type of person you could imagine. And it would force me to get so uncomfortable each time. I'm driving there an hour to each appointment, thinking about, what am I going to say? How am I going to say it? What if they reject me? What if they don't like this? What if they say that? And you're playing all these things in your head all the time, non-stop. Maybe you guys have felt that as well, before you jump on the sales call, before you pick up the phone, before you send the email, like this inner dialogue of, what if this, what if that, what if that, what if this, what if that? And it can try to discourage you, because that again was my old self. What I learned, that was my old self trying to stay comfortable, my old self that in his old life knew how to run that old life, but it wasn't the life that I could continue living if I wanted to have more out of this reality. So there was always that internal fight going on for a bit, until I just decided to firmly choose the way I was going to do things. I started to make non-negotiable mindsets, non-negotiable actions I had to take, because I realized if I don't, there's always going to be that pull trying to convince me otherwise and trying to pull me back down. Other things that I could share with you that really helped me on my journey is, again, having a full grounded perspective. See, when I was just in my car all the time and I'm just working, it doesn't help you if you're not doing anything outside of that. I wish I could. I was trying to get some photos together, but I couldn't. But at this time as well, I was also doing a lot of charity work with called the Round Table. I think at this point I just become the vice chairman of the local Round Table club, where we would do fundraising events, we give money to local people, and I'm literally seeing every type of person in life. It's giving me more grounded perspective that, hey, man, you might feel a bit stressed right now and a bit anxious and a bit this and that, but go look at the wider world for a minute and you'll see where you are in comparison to everyone else in a positive way, that you're further ahead than you think you are. So that was super useful for me to go and get those perspectives. And when I speak to more people, see more people, you forget some of the noise that you've got that might be beating in your head every day, that this isn't going to work. You might be a failure. You look stupid. People don't think this. People don't think that. That's a load of crap. Excuse my French, but it's a load of rubbish. It's you against you in this world completely, especially in this performance game that we're in, being entrepreneurs, being business owners, and even the first time we venture into it. It's about keeping yourself aligned with what you're trying to actually do and why you're doing what you're doing, and not forgetting that time is going to pass whatever we do. It's going, whatever we try and do, it's going to pass. So why not put myself in a position where I have the ability to grow in that time versus decline? Because there's only two options. By staying comfortable, that false illusion of where it just feels safe, well, we're declining because we're not growing. And if we're not growing, it's always going backwards. So I found myself getting used to being more comfortable uncomfortable after a while, putting myself in these situations, and then it grows like a muscle. But it does take time, like it really does. Um, the nerves that I used to have going to pre-booked appointments or even prospecting and cold calling, again, like I was bricking it. You know, I'm not a natural born salesperson, contrary to what people believe. I come from a background of World of Warcraft, RuneScape, computer gaming, no social life, and I didn't have many friends in high school towards the later part. I was really a proper like computer nerd. I couldn't speak to no one. I couldn't look people in their eyes. I couldn't look at people with authority, with confidence. I used to look down, and I just found like I can stay there and be in that position, or put myself in an environment that is going to have to, for me to succeed, I'm going to have to force myself, if I have to keep showing up, keep positive, put the right clothes on, put the right smile on, follow the right process. And eventually, you know, bit by bit, it took shape to then where I started producing and becoming in the top leaderboard every week. And then I started training people, and then it developed from there. But one thing that helped me again remain overall positive and get past those states of, you know, even at those depressive states we can feel, where it's like, is this really going to work? Can I do it? Is this for me? Trust me, it doesn't matter when you're doing something, wherever you are, like you're going to have those things that are going to pop up at some point, and it's a test. And you think about the other thing, right? In this world, everyone's having this in some way, shape, or form, because we're all human. Like there's a billion things going on in our heads all the time. And when you then look at the wider world and you realize, again, most will go through that journey and stop, and they question it, they dive into it, they lose their perspective on what they're trying to do, they lose hope, and sometimes they never come back out again because they've gone into the false illusion of comfort. And I found this this image the other day, and I thought this really makes sense because I've experienced this myself. You find a winning system, you run into an obstacle, then all of a sudden we throw our toys out of the pram and go, this isn't going to work, this can't work, this and this and this and that, and then we go off for the hunt to look for something else. We find it, we get that dopamine, we get that enthusiasm, we get that new belief. We're like, right, that's it. Here's version 10.0 of myself again. Let's go again. Then another problem, and then it keeps going round. I can tell you from experience, from being a person that has had to survive just off my ability to effectively sell. I've never had, when I got started, you know, at this point, I haven't had a job or salary. It was literally my ability to follow a process consistently that allowed me to even survive. And I've done that for over a decade. I've had this constantly. This hasn't ever left me. It doesn't matter how good you are, what you do, this can still creep in at some point. You know, maybe I hope these things are useful to maybe hear or for me to share with you all. But the big thing I would say is, again, the time is going to pass with all these actions you're going to do. The compounding effect when you look back will be significant. And as you've seen from other people that have applied it and just stuck through it, I guarantee you now, the ones that have even got deals in this group right now aren't every day going, woohoo, it's a great day and it's the best thing ever and I'm super pumped and motivated. It's not a constant state. There's still going to be those doubts, those other things that creep up that are trying to deter us. But remember, your past self is a lot of the time going to try and pull you back into what you know, because when there's so many things in your current reality that you feel like you don't know, it can feel very unstable. Where actually, if you look outside of it and look at what you've actually got just in black and white, it's not actually that case, because again, our emotions can fool us a lot. Our mind can trick us a lot. So just what I would say is keep this in your head as well, because the perspective of this, that you'll find it. And I bet if you look back with anything you've tried to do, any sport, any hobby, any activity you've tried, any previous business you've wanted to do, maybe where you've stopped, you will go in there initially finding that thing that you know will work. Then you run into an obstacle, and then you deter yourself, create bad habits, create, beliefs that start taking you down the wrong path. And then it's, well, that's not going to work, and off to a new one. We reinvent this wheel.
Do you mean it's more like finding the grass is greener with a new system, with a new business model? And, that seems simple. That can work. Uninformed optimism. You do the thing, find out, hey, this is life. It's difficult. Things happen. Find the biggest problem there. Say, oh, it's not for me. It's not suited with my personality. It doesn't work. Maybe it's saturated. Find a new thing. Same thing over and over again. Life goes by. We haven't really done anything. The biggest question people ask is, hey, if it was that easy, why wouldn't everyone do it? I feel like that's a pretty silly question to ask, although it seems like you're being very clever, but it's a pretty silly thing to ask, because us humans, we're not really that logical. We're really all about emotion. If we're going to be logical, why don't you ask, why doesn't the homeless person just get a minimum wage job, work themselves back up, kind of change their life? They don't. I don't know why. They just don't. Why doesn't the morbidly obese person just eat less and move more? I don't know why. I don't care. You can't just question the logic about everything. All I need to ask is, has someone made it work? Then how? That's it. That's the main thing that I keep in mind. And Ryan, I know you have shared that you went from literally not knowing anything, being not great socially, having taken out that loan, but I'd love to also get to know what happened at the end. Because from what I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, by 19, you were making 10,000. You were the top. You were leading teams.
Yeah. So it was really, what happened? So within the first 6 weeks, I mean, it was just me doing this every day. I'd borrow my mum's Garmin sat nav, bless her, and I'd put in these postcodes I've never even seen before and drive off into the absolute unknown every day. And what would happen is I would be going over this in my head all the time. Prepare this, do that, do this, do that, do this, do that, do that, and all over my head. But what happened is, for those first 6 weeks, I was driving and driving and driving. I didn't make any money. Like I made nothing. People were like, "You sure this is going to work?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course it's going to work." So I had to have that belief. I had that belief, and I keep myself always in a positive state. And I remember it was starting the 7th week. I drove an hour and a half out to a lead in Peterborough. I did an hour and a half presentation, and they went, "Yeah, let's do it." In my head, I'm like, "Holy crap, it's done." And I remember I left the house. I sat in my car and I just worked out, like, what have I actually made? And I made £1,100 commission. I remember the penny dropped at that point, because I just made what, like, my mum would make in a month for, like, full-time work. And I'm like, I knew it. Like, I knew that I could prove it to myself, and then I could prove to others that it was possible. Just a matter of time. And from that point, I remember I bought myself a number plate for my car, and I had this like 2003 VW Passat at the time, put that plate on it, and I was like, that's going to be. I spent like half my commission, by the way, which is absolutely irrational if you look at it. I spent like half my commission on this number plate, having made no money for 6 weeks, because I'm like, that now is a visual representation of the journey that I've been on from even years ago to get me to a point where I could make that happen. And then look at that, I've made someone's full-time wage in an hour and a half. And then you start to see the possibilities unlock more, because you're like, that's just the first one. What about the next one? The one after that? And now I'm starting to get it. Now I'm starting to improve. Now I'm starting to, get more momentum. And then, my wider plan when I got into this is I've always had, dreams of multiple businesses, managing teams, helping people. Like, for me, I love to help people. If I could pick up everyone in this world that's down and out and lift them up and give them belief again, I would. And to me, that was a lot of my drive as well. Because I'd always seen from, living in a village where there's bugger all possibilities and very limited mindsets, I just know that sometimes you've got to be that beacon of hope. So for me, that was always one thing that kept me going as well. But then, I went on to then, I think it was my 3rd month, I done 110K in business. I made like over 10.5K commission. And, again, I remember I checked my bank. And at the time as well, look, I was nervous as anything about money. It was a really weird thing going through this journey. I was scared as anything that was in my bank account. It was like this. I knew I had that loan, and I knew I kept putting fuel in my car, and I never wanted to look at it. I'm like, well, it should fill up, and off I go again. And I remember I opened my bank and I saw like the 10K in there, and again I'm like, huh, done it. Interesting. Wasn't as hard as I thought it was when I actually look back. Like at the time, it felt like it was the whole world against me, because of the nerves, the anticipation, the anxiety, the trying to remember this and learn that and do this and do this. And then, looking back, I'm like, okay, it's actually been quite a short period of time, really. And now I look at it and those problems aren't there anymore. Now I've got a foundation I've built. So now when I started to go in every day, I'm not worrying about this, this process. I'm not trying to think about all these things because they're now sort of ingrained in my head. And I've started to get a flow to it. And I've got like some, I don't know what the term is, whether it's like neuroplasticity or whatever the sayings are in that, but like I just knew what I had to do because of repeating it enough. And then that was less anxiety, less worry. Then I was more present in the calls. Then I could focus more on, okay, now I know this. This is where I messed up. This is where I could improve. This is where I'm nailing it. And then I focused on refining and improving that. And then I wanted to get into training other people. So then I would then manage some teams. I would get involved in creating presentations, and then I'd get involved in leading a lot of the day by day because that's where I wanted to go, because that's what my passion was. But it was a gradual step each way. But I guess for you guys as well, from this, you've got your process and your guide. While you haven't applied it consistently day by day and got through those initial obstacles, it will be challenging. And then once you've got it to where it's like muscle memory because you've just done it enough, it will be just something that you'll automatically do. You'll be more present, you'll be more mindful, and then you're able to upgrade and make rapid improvements. It's like that curve of slowly going, and then it just exponentially scales. That's what happens in this space that we're in. Because once you've got that nailed down, you know what you've got to do, you know what you've got to say, you know who you're speaking to, why you're speaking to them. Everything else starts getting massively more easier for you.
Brian, with your intense focus towards a process and keeping the consistent actions, I feel like a big part of that comes from you burning all the boats and going back. Yeah. You had already taken out the loan to pay for the fuel to go out to the prospects every day. You had told people around you that this is what I'm doing. I'm not going to uni. I'm not doing anything else. Burning boats and not keeping that option, saying, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe it's not the right thing. Maybe it's not the right time. Burning the options of being able to say that or even think that creates that space in your mind to be able to find ways of really making sure that the daily action steps are being done in an effective way, and you're actually doing whatever you possibly can to make things work. Because if you had that slight thought at the back of your head, maybe I could just say, hey, maybe it wasn't for me. Maybe this isn't the right thing. It leaves that room for you to kind of be less intense, be less motivated, or like for actually doing the things properly. And a lot of people say, and I've heard a lot of people in the group saying that maybe I don't have experience doing this. I don't know if it's for me. Things like that. We do get through it, but it's always a thought in everyone's head when they first start. So just a bit of reassurance that, hey, Ryan just explained the story that he had no clue what he was doing, incredibly nervous, very, very young when he first started. He made it. He's still doing it at this point. And for those that don't know, he's generated over 10 million pounds, 17 million Canadian, or more than that at this point, probably. But yeah, even for myself, like, guys, I studied cybersecurity. So nothing to do with this. Like literally nothing to do with this. Like, I've come from a family, everyone's a doctor. Like my dad's a doctor, both my aunts are doctors, my granddad was a GP. When I said I want to do this business stuff, they were like, yeah, let's call the psychiatrist and we know what is wrong with this kid. I'm joking. They didn't say that, but it was a big thing. Like, what is this kid trying to do? And I was doing, I got fired from the job, and then I was trying to do delivery driving. I'm just going to save up for courses and invest in myself. Lost 20K, hadn't made anything. It sounds like motivation. Oh yeah, I just kept going, but it's pretty intense when you're in that moment when you haven't made anything. you lost that much money. There's a lot of pressure. You're living with parents, um, and there's a lot of responsibility. So that kind of created that burning desire that I have to make it work. I can't possibly go up to my parents and say, "Hey, the 20,000 that I've just spent and the months that I've wasted. Oh yeah, that was for no reason. I'm just gonna go back. I'm just gonna go back to doing the things the normal way, which is fine. But it is a lot of pressure. So I'm just telling you guys, I didn't have any experience. No one has experience when they first start. It's just you burning the boats and leaving no option apart from just actually making sure you make it work. Just telling you guys the truth. And it's up to you whether you want to take that on board or just kind of give yourself the ability to say, oh, maybe it's not for me. Maybe it just doesn't suit my personality. And it's not to insult anyone. I promise you, the whole purpose of the program is to help you, right? Also, quick one. One interesting thing that I've found in 2023, I made this investment into a performance program where they did like hypnotizing, all that stuff. Let's not go into that. But they made this AI bot. You can call it AI bot. That was like a therapist. And what you did was when you had mindset issues or if you were struggling with something, you could just go into it, type into that AI what the problem was, and it gave you a solution and basically gave you an exact step-by-step plan on how you could potentially overcome that. So I found a similar AI, although that program was pretty expensive. I don't have it anymore, but I have found something similar. If you guys are interested, I can send it over to you on WhatsApp. It's called I think Chat Abby. I think I sent it to you, Ryan. It's called Chat Abby, right? And you basically just type in what the problems are you're going through, whether it's doing the outbounds or anything even personal, and it gives pretty good advice. So try it out, see if it helps you. And what's interesting is if you do this monthly thing with it, like £10 a month or something, it remembers everything that you mentioned to it. It learns, it adapts, and gives you even better advice each time. Pretty interesting. I thought maybe you guys can use it if you'd like to. But anyway, we'll end the call here. Anything else that you'd like to say, Ryan?
I've got to think of something now that can help you all further. No, I think what I would say is, again, look back even from when you first started, even this journey you've been on now, and try to be kind to yourself and look at what you have learned, because there's so much you've had to compile all at the same time. Because you've not only had to just learn a new business, you've had to learn how to speak to different people, you've had to learn a load of skills at the same time. Honestly, be proud of the journey you've been on. I really would be, because it's grown you in ways you may not even realize yet. And again, when you're in the heat of it, in the middle of it, you may not feel like that's the case. But I would say one other thing is, I don't know how you all live socially. I don't know how you will go about your day today, and everyone's got their own way of doing it. But go out there and try to have as many conversations with people outside of what you do as well, whether it's volunteering, helping someone do something, just being a kind person, and hearing other people's lives as one thing that has always helped me get back more to the reality that I'm actually, and not what I think I'm in my head, and gives me a lot more grounding, because everyone's off on their journeys every day. Everyone's off on their struggles. Everyone's off on trying to solve their own problems. And the more you hear that other people are doing it, sometimes, at least for me, that it helps me gain a greater perspective and kind of slow down on maybe these thoughts I've got that, this isn't this isn't that, I can't do this, I can't do that, because we're all going through it. I think it's just a good grounding exercise. Speak to some strangers, be kind to someone, hear their story, and realize that you're far, far further ahead than you could possibly realize out of most people in this world.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's great advice, guys. And I really hope this benefits you guys. The only reason why we're doing this is so we can give you that extra support. By the way, no one messaged me anything about improving the program. So I have a perfect program, right? Come on, guys. I'm asking you, what should I do for you? How can I make things easier? But I came up with an idea for people that are actually doing the work. We could maybe schedule quick one-on-ones with Ryan himself. And that's only for people that do the work, and that's going to be judged by the form that you fill in on Fridays, the Friday check-ins. but I believe that should be pretty useful. So fill in Friday check-ins. If I feel like you have hit the outbound KPIs, then it should be pretty beneficial if you did a one-on-one with Ryan and you can share a few insights on what his outbound team is doing. Not now. With the one-on-one with Ryan, I feel like a one-on-one with me at this point will be better. And you just joined the project one today, so you just need to fully go through it again. But we'll talk about it on WhatsApp. But with Ryan, I mean more with people that have been doing the consistent outbounds. If you just shoot over a message, and we'll get that done. But yeah, guys, I have to get going to my next call. It was a pleasure speaking to all of you guys or seeing all you guys. Inshallah, we'll catch up next week. Assalamu alaikum.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.